Okay, so I've got the ground floor plan open, and you can see there the solids that I modelled last time, and they're all in separate in-place families. So that's probably the most important concept at first when you start using this model in place tool, realising how things can be grouped together, and then thinking about how you're going to use the different modelling tools once you start off the in-place family. And so that term family is one you'll come across a lot in Revit, and often when people say family they mean a separate family file which you can make under the main menu there by going to new and then family. I'm not going to do that. Or you can click on component. Instead of going to model in place, you can go to place a component, and then when you click load family, again you can load families in from a separate file. So watch out for that. Often people get a bit mixed up when they're thinking about families and think that all families are separate files, when in fact lots of things within your project are families as well. And so that term in place essentially means an in place family, in other words one that you've modelled within the project. And so again, by choosing model in place from the sub-menu there, it's going to ask me for a category for my family, and this time I'm going to set it to ceiling. So I've said before, if you're not sure about the category, use generic models, but in this case I know that I want to put some lights in this object later on, and so for that to work it needs to be a ceiling, and so I'll just click OK there, and I'll give it a name, canopy. Right, and so now I want to make an extrusion which is on the ceiling level that I've created. So I've opened the floor plan that's associated with that ceiling level, so O2 level 1 CL, and now I'll click on the extrusion tool, and you can see then in properties that's set the work plane to this level. So again, always thinking about planes when you make a solid, because they're based on a 2D shape, and that shape needs to begin at a certain plane or level. So planes and levels are slightly different things, but at first they're related. So here you can see my plane is basically associated with the level. And now, so it gets a bit tricky, I'm going to switch back to my ground floor plan, and I can draw the shape I want there, even though it's going to be on a different plane in the end, this solid. So that's fine, and then I'm just going to draw a few lines based on this pattern here, and so I'll begin actually by tracing the edge of the thing I've already created, and this will probably give you some tips on just drawing generally as well with Revit. So here I'm just trying to pick up some of my base outlines, fairly roughly drawing with the line tool. Okay, so I won't do the whole thing at this point, but I'll do a large part of it just to give you a good idea exactly what I'm trying to make here. And maybe just a few more lines over here. So I'm tracing the pattern of the black lines essentially. Notice I'm only drawing on one side, and you'll see why in a moment. So here, I'll just bring that up, and just put a couple more in, maybe over in this area. And yep, so this one coming maybe down here. So that might do for now. So I've got the image there in this view, and that can be a bit difficult to work with. So I'm going to switch to my other ground floor, or I can even go back to the level that I started on, and then I can see the lines a lot more clearly. And so I'm going to use a few different tools now. So I've just been drawing with the straight line tool up until now. But then I'm going to go to offset, and so you can see there in the modify panel a lot of the tools there are very similar to AutoCAD. They have the same icons and they work in a similar way. So the more familiar you are with AutoCAD, the easier the drawing will be in Revit as well. So with offset, just like AutoCAD, you give a distance first. So I'm going to make mine 200 is about what I want it. In fact, so just to check that, I'll go back to the plan with the image. Remember, it is 200. We're going to measure it with the measuring tape here. Just measure one of these bands. And on it, so it's more like 350 actually, or 300. Let's just check this one. Yeah, 300. No, 200. So again, back to offset. So that distance needs to go in first. And then you can just go along picking lines. So here you pick these lines to get an offset copy. I probably need to look at the image again just to check which way some of these can go, but again, when I choose offset, it'll keep that distance I had previously, and I can just keep then picking my lines. So it's not quite as fast as AutoCAD. It's not really set up as a drafting program like AutoCAD is, but it's still a pretty quick program to use for drawing. So that might also one more. So that's all of them that I need for now. Yep. Okay, so again, by looking in a different view without the image, it's much clearer. And so to make that work as a solid, I have to connect those shapes and make them closed. And so that's one of the things when you first start making extrusions and other things like this, you need to get used to that general approach. And so in AutoCAD you can use trim to take away, say, this part of the line in between these two lines. In Revit it's a bit different, so if you haven't looked at the way you break and trim these lines, essentially the main approach is to use split first. So here in the modify panel, the first of those smaller buttons is a really important tool, split element. And I'm just going to click on this line to break it. And I'll do the same again down here. Okay, so that's left me with a segment at the top there, one in the middle, another one down below. Now I can use trim to corner and join those lines all at the corners. Okay, because there's no option with Revit when you use any of these trim tools to choose two edges, essentially. So you have to create gaps in your lines that way by splitting them first. And so again here I've got to use a similar approach. I can use trim to corner up here, no problem, but here I need to again break that line using split. Break it first and then again trim to corner. There, I'll just trim that again. And looking over here, then the again, lines there all need to be split, and you get fairly used to doing this, and after a while do it pretty quickly, and but again, trim to corner. And over here I'll just trim that corner for now. It'll change in the end. And actually what I might do there is get rid of these two lines. Oh sorry, just one of those lines. And then again use trim to corner to join this all the way along and this side as well. Okay, so that's almost ready as a solid, but to make it a closed shape, I need to then just draw lines and close off all of those endpoints. That's the main requirement, essentially, that you have closed shapes when you're working with solids. and just one more. Okay, so all of my ends are closed off, and now when I go to finish this shape, it'll create the object in 3D for me. At the moment, the depth is bigger than I want it to be. I just want the depth to be the same as the width, so I'm going to make that 300. Changing the extrusion end there. And now if I look in my 3D view, I can see created that shape, and I want to add some more solids now to this family. So notice I haven't clicked finish model yet, I'm still working with the solids. And this time I want to make a solid that is in line with these side walls. So in plan, I'll go to the one with the image so you can see it. I can't see the solid there in this view with the image. So to make that visible there, the trick is to go into the level where the solid's been made, select it, go to Edit Extrusion, and you're back into sketch mode. So you're working essentially in 2D with a 2D shape, and now I can switch to the view that has my image. And so here I just want to make sure that this edge is in line with my wall. So you can see that clearly, that edge sits on the face of the wall there. And so later on I'll have other edges that also join the wall, but that one is all I really need for now. And up here, I've got one there as well. Okay, so I'll finish that, and then in my south elevation view, I think I'll work for now. So south elevation is looking from the south. If you're not sure which way the elevation views are set up, it's just like a compass point. So you have north at the top, south at the bottom, east to the right, and west to the left. So my south elevation is looking from here. And so now I want to create a solid in this view to line up with this edge here that we know touches the wall there. So back to create, and then extrusion. And this is where people can get a bit confused, because it's going to ask you for a plane. Right, we're drawing in a side view here. It's like you're drawing in elevation, but there's no plane has been set so far. So I'm going to use this option, pick a plane. Right, so I'm just going to leave that selected and click OK. And I'm going to pick the face of this wall. Okay, so we're looking at that south wall in elevation, and I can pick the outer surface as my drawing plane. And that's a really useful option when you're making solids. So you can use any surface as a work plane or a drawing plane essentially. So it tells me that over here, work plane is basic wall, whatever kind of wall it is. So now I can draw a rectangle from the side. The end I'll make 300. Might need to go the other way, might need to be minus, we'll have a look at that in 3D. So I'll finish that and then show you in 3D. Yeah, it does have to be minus, so I'll make that end there minus 300, and that's going to go back from the surface of the wall. So I drew the rectangle on this, in line with this wall surface. And you can see there it's projected a rectangle. If I go to Edit Extrusion, there's the original rectangle sitting on the surface of the wall, and it's projected now to the side. Finally, just to finish that off and make it look like one connected thing, I can use join geometry. This is just an extra thing. It's not essential, but it can help. So with join, I'll choose my new solid and the original, and it blends it all into one thing. Okay, so I'll maybe just take that a bit further, and so I'll finish that shape. And so if you remember last week looking at revolves, you've got there the revolve that I made coming up from the ground, and that's maybe not the most useful thing. So I'll delete that. And now I'm going to go and make a new in-place model. So again, just to reinforce that idea of grouping your solids together by making different in-place families. You can see here this family is made up of two solids, the one on the top and then the one coming down on the side. If I go back to, I'll start in plan view again, and then back on the architecture tab I'll choose model in place again, and this time I'll use generic models again as my category. Click OK, and so I want to make a revolve that is perpendicular to the ground rather than being starting with the ground plane. So this is really just as an example. I'll go to a 3D view so you can see the planes more clearly, and then with Revolve I'm going to use this set option. So this tool lets you choose a plane anytime you want to. So I didn't need to use it before because it asked me for a plane automatically because I was working in a side view in the elevation. But you always have that option of clicking set, and then you can choose, just like I did before, pick a plane. So I'll click OK there, and then I'm going to choose the inside surface of this wall. Next to the set button you have the show button, and then you can see the plane if you aren't sure and you want to check that. So I can see there the inside surface of the wall is highlighted. I'll turn show back off because it can get in the way, and then I'll just draw something very roughly again just to make it a bit clearer how working in different planes can help you. So I'll just draw a line as the back of my piece of furniture, and I'll just again draw a line coming across, and maybe we'll have it sloping a little bit, and then across again, and then again sloping, and that'll do. So that's my basic seat profile, and then I want it to revolve around this back edge. So I'm going to go to from boundary line that I was on previously. I'll go to axis line, and then just draw along that edge, at my axis, tick to finish, and it's revolved in a perpendicular plane. So hopefully you can see from that that with Revolve you usually need to set a different plane other than the ground plane. Revolving things up and around from the ground isn't really that useful in certain situations probably, but revolving things sideways is really useful. You do that all the time. So you can see there it's revolved 360. I'll just change that to start at 180, and that way it's only revolving half of a circle, so it's not going through the wall. So that might do it with Revolve, but essentially as you make your solids, try to think about how you can create things more easily in different planes. And so again, just maybe to remind you with the side views, I'll come back to this one, and maybe I'll just do one more edit to this solid I made before. So with that selected, to go back into it, you use edit in place. So these things should become something you remember after you use the tool just a few times. And again, edit in place will take me back into the solid. Now I'll just start by modifying my initial extrusion. And so notice when I've selected it, it remembers the plane it was made in. It's set over here in properties. So I don't need to set that again. If I go to edit extrusion, that profile or the shape that it's based on, you can see there really clearly in the 3D view, but I can easily change to another view to to continue working on that. So I just want to extend it over here. I'll just draw in some more lines for that. Another little tip I can give you: if you're used to drawing lines in AutoCAD, you've got most of the same options in Revit. So here, if I move the cursor in the direction I want my line to go, I can type in the distance, 300, that I want that to go, just like AutoCAD. So you can use the cursor to give a direction, and then type in your measurements, if you haven't tried that. And so again, just like before, I need to take out this inner segment of that line by first splitting it, the split element, and then using trimmed corner, join those together. So again, that's a common operation you need to get used to. And when I finish that, it'll disappear because I'm in the ground floor floor plan, which is below my solid, so it'll only be visible in 3D in the upper level floor plan. So again, it really gets you thinking in 3D, if you're not already. So there we are, you can see in 3D I've added that extra little piece, and now I'm going to go to the west elevation. So again, I'm going to make a new solid by going to Create and Extrusion. And just like before, because I'm working in an elevation view, where essentially no plane is predefined, I have to choose one. So I don't need to use set here because Revit knows there's no plane set and it's asking me anyway. So with pick a plane chosen, I'll just click OK. And this time I'll choose the surface of the wall that I can see in this view, and you need to sometimes move the cursor a little bit just to get the right plane on the different objects. So there, that would be the side wall on the left, this would be the side wall on the right. I don't want those, I want the wall I'm looking at, so I should see the top and the bottom of it, not just one side. And so again, I'll just draw a rectangle now over that square, essentially. That's slightly off, so not a problem. I can bring this line over to the edge here using a line. I'll pick this edge first, and then I can pick my line. And that's it, tick to finish. Oh no, sorry, the extrusion there, this time I'll set it to minus 300 while I'm creating it, so that way when I finish it, if I look at it in 3D now, you can see it goes back. So again, I can use join there to join these two things together. Oops, let's try that again. Okay, so if you still see a gap like I have there, it just means that this needs to come across slightly. That's it. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea how to work in different planes, but I'll give you some more examples once you've tried that. So I'll finish my model, and well actually I'll just go back one step and show you why I'm finishing the model now. Because if I go to save this, and you'll see this when you work in sketch mode, which I am at the moment, it'll give you a message like this if you try to save in sketch mode. Okay, so you can't save midstream in sketch mode. It'll save everything up to that point when you went into the tool, and that's what this message basically is telling you. So I can click save there, but it won't save the work I've just done, and you can see there it's not even showing me those bits I've just added. Okay, so clicking save there would work, but I'll cancel it, and instead, see there, this part is the new part I've added. I'll finish the model, and now I'll save it, just normal save, and it works just fine. So whenever you're in sketch mode, whether it's a solid like I've been making or a floor, again by going to edit boundary, that's sketch mode for the floor. If I try to save now, it will save everything up to the point where I went into sketch mode. So just remember that. and otherwise just try and make some solids in different planes other than just working off the floor levels. And so I'll finish the video there.